Hey everybody, I got a new microphone, but I have been tweaking the settings and I recorded this not realizing how bad it sounded. So I did my best to edit it to make it sound tolerable. But other than that, I'm just going to be terraforming today and reading Reddit stories. Please bear with the sound quality. I promise it will be better in the future. All right, here we go. Story 1. I got a Tinder hookup pregnant. I, male 25, accidentally got my Tinder hookup, female 32, pregnant. The condom broke, and she says that she thinks she's pregnant. It's been about 10 weeks since we were together, and she sent me a picture of a pregnancy test. I currently have no kids. She has 2, and this was supposed to only be a hookup and nothing more. Not sure how to feel, just looking for honest truth to this. This is a bit of a short one, but I feel like there's a lot to be said here. I think there needs to be a serious conversation between the two of you about what this relationship between you looks like. More or less, is she going to be having this child? And if she does, what does that mean for you two? Are you guys... And if she is going to have this child, what does that mean for you two? Are you two going to have a relationship after this? Based off of what the original poster says about it only being a hookup, it kind of worries me that there's no actual romantic substance here, and that's a horrible environment for a child to grow up in with parents that share no romantic interest in one another other than, relations. I also see this as like wildly irresponsible on both parties' side to not take preventative measures more than a condom to ensure that this doesn't happen. I don't know what sort of truth that the original poster is looking for. I think the truth here is that you have a baby on the way and now you have to figure out a way to deal with it. Whether that's, this is your new life and this is who this kid that is on the way effectively is now your responsibility, at least the way I look at it. And that kind of ties you down to whether or not you stay with this person or not. It is a very complicated situation, and I can only hope that it results in an outcome that is the best for everybody, where all parties are satisfied, whether that means she doesn't go through with the pregnancy or the baby is put up for adoption or some other third option that actually ends up with you guys in a relationship. This one is extremely tricky, so I'm interested to hear what you guys all have to say about this. Definitely leave a comment about that. Story 2. My friends deceived me about a trip and went for it to my family's holiday house. I am 22 female. My family owns a holiday house that me and several of my friends have visited a few times. One day, an old friend of mine, male 20, wrote to me that he had a few friends that would like to visit the place. Manny is from a friend group that I got estranged from over time. But in respect of old times, and as our relationship didn't end badly, I agreed to reserve it for them for a few days. Fast forward to the day that it arrives, and they all get to the house. They were looking for something at the house and had to write me to find it. Instead of him asking, my BFF, 23 female, wrote to me asking for the thing. Mind you, she is not from the friend group I thought was arriving at the house. I had no idea that she would be there, so I went to the chat of his friend group to find out what was going on. The chat was completely empty of any clue about this trip. No, when are we going? No, what board games are you taking? Types of text there. The people from his group chat clearly weren't the ones going on this trip. So, being confused, I wrote her asking what was going on. I thought since he wrote me about wanting to go on the trip, it would be him and his friends going. Well, it turns out that the people that were actually going were my friends, him, and a few other acquaintances. Yes, I may be close with some and less with others, but clearly a group trip I could have easily been invited on. Mainly since it's my family's holiday home. I had figured since my BFF was going on the trip that she would have told me about it after we'd been friends for so many years. Especially since it was my family's holiday home. And seeing that she was going, she could have messaged me about it. But no, he is the one that wrote me, as if it was his group going. None of my friends even thought to call me. I find this situation well over disrespectful and hurtful. Now they have started sending me photos and jokes, as if wanting to include me or something. I also don't know what to do exactly because those people are mostly my friends. I would be practically left alone without them. But isn't this going well over the line? I have had a lot of texts and photos coming from the chat and feel like I'm frozen in place and can't decide what my next action should be. Well, for one, I don't even know if you can call them your friends anymore. I can't see in any universe where I'm a person that I go to a friend's family house and don't expect my friend to be at their family's house. And vice versa. My friends, I would hope, would not do something like this to me. And it seems like an excuse to have used a nice place to have like a nice trip or whatever you want to say at the expense of somebody else. Sort of like an all expenses paid trip that you don't have to worry about like breaking something or whatever because you don't own it, right? Not saying that they went in with the idea of wanting to break stuff, but I think the analogy is still there. My main point being, I don't know why they wouldn't have invited you, or you yourself wouldn't have just gone, considering it was at your family's place. And I'm not trying to victim blame because I think you are the victim, and I think that they definitely abused their friendship with you in getting you to allow them to go to this place. However, I do think it's strange that you didn't invite yourself in a way. And I get some people don't want to impose or assume things, but if you're going to come to my family's place, I'm going to be there. Like, I am responsible for putting you there, and so I have to be responsible for when you are there. So I don't think it weird that you would quote-unquote invite yourself, which I think you have total justification to do so, if you could even call it quote-unquote inviting yourself. But at the end of the day, I think you need new friends, and it sucks to say that. And maybe I'm too harsh, but I would definitely be very upset with my friends, and it's definitely a boundary that I would not allow to be crossed. And I think it just needs to be as simple as, hey, I don't appreciate what you did to me, taking advantage of me and my resources / my family's resources for your own pleasure and leisure, essentially. And I think those emotions would be valid. Story 3. My boyfriend made plans on my surprise date night and effectively uninvited me. I feel absolutely horrible and have nobody to talk to about this. Our relationship has been rough lately. We barely spend any time together and he just plays games with our mutual friends almost every day. We had a small fight about it the other day and we both decided that we should block out time for each other. I told him I'd decide a day to get back to him. He always tells me how much he loves me, but I always feel like his last priority. And he gets really offended when I bring that up. He always says that he'd wish I'd surprise him more and be more spontaneous, so I booked a surprise date night for tomorrow night. Italian restaurant, watch the sunset, then go home and play Divinity 2 together since we never find the time. I cleared my calendar and planned this all 2 nights ago. Last night we had dinner with a friend group. He abruptly announced that he had plans to play MTG with another friend tomorrow night and asked to host a few games of Commander at a mutual friend's place so the 4 of them could all play. After I asked what I'd do, he said it was an open invitation so I could come sit on the couch if I wanted. To make things worse, he explicitly told the friend I'm closest with that he'd build him a starter deck, so now I've truly got nobody to hang out with or even vent to. I'm just so defeated. All of our friends are ghosting me, and I wouldn't even dare to mention my original plans at this point. My BF can tell I'm upset, and I haven't told him anything. Okay, so there's a lot packed in here. I want to touch on the very last sentence about not telling him anything. I think you should tell him, because at the end of the day, communication is the only thing that's going to get you past this. I'm not sure how long they've been together. It doesn't say, I don't think. At least I don't remember. But not telling him is only going to make things worse because you're going to pent up those emotions and then resent him later, when this is something that you should probably bring up right away, or at least when you become ready to. However, in his defense, he had no knowledge of the surprise that you had planned for him, so he had no reason to believe that he had plans on a night that he made plans on. I did find it a little bit insulting that he'd made these plans without explicitly including you and kind of told you that you could just go sit over on the couch or something. I did think that was a little wild. However, you planned a surprise date night that he didn't know about because it was a surprise, and I don't think that that should be held against him. In my opinion, the only thing that he truly did wrong was not actively including you, like I said before, in this grandiose plan of games that he had made for the original date that you guys had. So maybe there is like fault on both sides. I think there is a needed sit down with each other to actually talk through the relationship and see what you both want from it moving forward. But I think this is a non-issue, but it just needs to be communicated better that when he makes those plans, you should be telling him, oh, hey, I actually wanted to do this night. I had it all planned out. I have reservations, blah, 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 whatever. And if he then, doesn't change his plans for you, then you kind of know that, like, he's putting other people and other things past you and your relationship. But I don't know. I just feel so bad, like, trying to find reasons for him to cop out of it. But I do think that there's, like, blame to share. Alright, it's that part of the video where I thank you guys from the very bottom of my heart for subscribing, for watching my videos, and for leaving likes. I've seen so much growth over these last 3 weeks, this being the 3rd week now of uploading on this channel. And it's been so consistent, and I've genuinely never seen anything remotely close to this success-wise on YouTube. We are almost at 100 subscribers, and that will be the most subscribers I've ever had on any YouTube channel that I've ever made. So, thank you guys. And like I always say, I'm going to feature one recent subscriber at the time of editing, and that is this guy. So please feel free to go say hey to them, subscribe to them, whatever you want to do. But this is my way of saying thanks to all my subscribers. I really appreciate every single one of you guys. And I hope you guys have a great day. And we'll get back to the stories now. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for ruining a funeral? My aunt passed away, and I am back in town, so I decided to go to the funeral. She had 2 children, her son who lived with her, and a daughter I will call Sue. They lived in a small town about 2 hours away. It was going to be a family viewing at a funeral home and then gravesite service. As I was signing the guest book, a cousin I hadn't seen in years came over and we started talking. This was in the hallway before you get to the viewing room. Sue came out and shushed us. I was embarrassed thinking we were talking too loud, even though I didn't think so. So we went into the viewing room. There, everyone was sitting and looking at the monitor with videos of the deceased. They had sad music playing and no one was talking. Just sitting quietly looking at the monitor. After about 15 minutes, I whispered to my sister who was in front of me that I was going to bounce. She said that she would go out with me because she had something for me in the car. She and her husband followed me out. Then their adult children and their family followed. My cousin also came out to talk in the parking lot. I noticed other people leaving also. We all talked in the parking lot for a little while. We all talked in the parking lot for a little and then left. Sue contacted me on Facebook and said I ruined her mom's funeral by leaving and taking half the people with me. I don't think I did anything wrong, but apologized and said I had an emergency come up and had to leave. She then blocked me. I feel bad that I upset her at her mom's funeral, but I had never been to a funeral where no one was allowed to talk. Am I the a-hole for leaving the viewing early and having half the room leave with me? I don't know. I think the answer is no, you're not an a-hole. I've been to a few funerals in my life, and, talking about the deceased is kind of part of the process of grieving. I'm all for, like, this is what we want, like, we want a silent viewing or whatever. But to me, I think she is just upset that her mom is gone, and there's a lot of emotions going on when you lose a parent, and I think that's totally valid, but I think she's struggling to find ways to handle those emotions healthily. I think she's struggling to find a way to handle those emotions in a healthy way, and she sort of just lashed out at the first person she could. I don't necessarily think you did anything wrong. I think you should be able to leave a funeral if you don't want to be there anymore. And I think that you came in the first place is enough to show some sort of support, right? But I would not consider you an a-hole just for leaving. I think it's just coincidence that everybody left with you. That or they thought that the service was over. Any sort of combination of factors could have gone into why everybody else decided to leave. Could have just happened that everybody wanted to leave and you were the first to do it, so everybody kind of followed suit. But no, I do not think that you are the a-hole. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my dad and sister to live with us after I just had a baby and their home was ruined by a neighbor's house fire? To start, I need to escape from living with my dad and my sister many years ago. I moved in with my boyfriend, now husband, in college 10 years ago. They're irresponsible, siphon money, and don't take care of anything. My sister's a narcissist, and I have been in therapy for many years. I had a baby recently, and I am writing this post on 3 hours of sleep. I'm exhausted and burnt out. I'm a working mom, my husband works too, and we're still in survival mode. Their neighbor's house caught fire and burned it to the ground. My dad and sister's house was closed. The siding melted, windows cracked, blinds melted, inside smells like smoke. No one was hurt. My dad and sister still have their belongings. Utilities are off and insurance companies are looking into everything. No clue how long this will take or what is going to happen. However, my dad has tons of medical problems and equipment and would probably need to stay on the main floor. There's nowhere for him to stay aside from the living room. And this is where the baby spends most days. Baby is at an age where he will grab and chew on anything, including small parts for medical supplies. My dad would need to use the bathroom on the main floor. He is not careful when he goes, to put it politely. He refuses to clean and has been extremely disorganized since I was born. Medically, it's different now. I can't fault him for not being able to complete everyday tasks. My concern is the possibility of incontinence, and being around the baby is worrisome due to the health concern, as well as me needing to mother my own father on top of my son. My sister and her cat have already been staying with us over the weekend. My dad is considered a displaced senior with medical necessities, so the hospital is taking him for now. They want him out soon. My husband has a mild cat allergy, so we can't keep the cat in the house for long. My sister is disrespectful and rude. I'm used to ignoring her, but my husband is livid. She watched us put away groceries. I had to ask her to help with dishes after she ate a meal that I cooked, and she brought over my dad's dirty laundry and didn't do it because she went to an activity for fun. My dad is currently doing it while I'm at work, and I have to run it to my dad tonight in the hospital. She talks and talks without ever stopping. She is selfish and doesn't think about anyone except for herself. My husband put his foot down and I agreed. We spoke with my sister and gave her 2 weeks max that she could stay. She started to cry, but this gives her plenty of time to work with the landlord, they rent, and the insurance to be placed into temporary housing. I feel very, very guilty though. I have been working on not people pleasing, but I feel like this is different. But I can't do this. I'm already at the end of my rope. I need to put my son first. I can't do more than this. 2 weeks is even difficult. Am I the a-hole? I would say no. I think there comes a limit between family members where help is actually help and not just freeloading. I think there needs to be a line when it comes to family that you can't just assume I'm always going to help you, I'm always going to be there. I think it is great to always be there for your family and like do as much as you can do, but I think there is a fine line between helping somebody and just like doing something for them. To our knowledge, from what the original poster posted, we have no idea if like immediately the sister and the dad were working on finding temporary housing or if they just plan to just randomly move in with their daughter/sister for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, should not fly. I'm all for helping my siblings and my family like in a time of need, but you better be doing everything in your power to be getting back to where you were before, or at least something that can temporarily sustain you. That's not even to mention that you're caring for a newborn child, or not necessarily newborn, but like a new child, like you're still adjusting to your life with a child. And that adds a completely new layer to this, where you're looking out for the baby's safety as well as your own well-being. And having to pick up after them is kind of like the final straw for me. Because if you're going to be living with me, you better be doing your fair share of chores. I shouldn't have to be doing your laundry. You should be doing your own dishes, etc., etc. But I don't know. That's just me. I got to hear what you guys think in the comments. This is not necessarily a tricky one to me, but I'm interested to see how far you guys would go for your family members. So please let me know. All right, guys. That is going to do it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you either watched this to the end and said something that was on your mind from one of these crazy stories, or you're asleep and you can't hear me right now, or maybe I'm influencing the way you're dreaming. Either way, I appreciate you watching and sticking with me and reading these stories with me. More content on the way, obviously. And if you made it this far, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.